When a billionaire mother saw a waitress kneel beside her silent daughter and whisper something no one else could hear, she had no idea that single moment would change all their lives forever. Sarah had always been a busy woman. As one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the country, her days were filled with meetings, phone calls, and endless schedules. Yet, despite her busy life and the glamorous world she moved in, nothing in the world was more important to her than her daughter, Emma. Emma was 8 years old, bright and loving. But she had a disability that made the simplest social interactions a challenge. She found crowds overwhelming, and speaking to people she didn't know often made her retreat into silence. Sarah had learned over the years that patience, understanding, and love were more important than anything else for her daughter. But even a mother who loved her child more than anything sometimes worried that she wasn't doing enough. One chilly Saturday morning, Sarah decided to take Emma out for a rare mother-daughter outing. Their home was a large mansion filled with everything money could buy. But Emma rarely got the chance to experience the small, everyday joys that other children often took for granted. Sarah wanted this outing to be simpler. Visit to a local diner, somewhere casual, where Emma could just enjoy being a little girl. It wasn't about extravagance or luxury. It was about moments, about connection, and about giving Emma experiences that were both normal and comforting. As they drove to the diner, Emma sat quietly in the passenger seat, her small hands fidgeting with the seatbelt. Sarah glanced over at her daughter, noticing the familiar mix of curiosity and apprehension in her eyes. "Are you excited?" Sarah asked gently. Emma didn't answer right away, but she gave a small nod. That tiny gesture was enough to warm Sarah's heart. She knew Emma felt nervous in new places, but even a small nod meant that her daughter trusted her. And that trust was everything. When they arrived at the diner, the bell above the door jingled as they stepped inside. The diner was warm and cozy, filled with the smells of fresh coffee and baked goods. Sunlight streamed through the windows, bouncing off the colorful booths and checkered floors. Sarah took a deep breath, hoping the cheerful environment would be inviting rather than intimidating for Emma. Emma's eyes darted around the room, taking in the bustling scene. People laughed at their tables, waitresses moved quickly but gracefully, and the sound of clinking dishes filled the air. It was lively, noisy, full of energy, exactly the kind of environment that could easily overwhelm a child like Emma. Sarah reached out, gently taking her daughter's hand and guiding her toward an empty booth near the corner. "Away from the busiest part of the diner? Let's sit here," Sarah said softly, trying to make her voice calm and reassuring. Emma's tiny hand squeezed hers back, a silent gesture of comfort. They slid into the booth, and Sarah smiled at her daughter. "See, it's not so scary." Emma looked around, still unsure, but the warmth in Sarah's tone seemed to help as they settled. A waitress approached with a friendly smile. She was young, cheerful, and moved with a quiet grace that immediately caught Sarah's attention. The waitress greeted them warmly, asking if they wanted menus or if they already knew what they wanted. Emma remained quiet, her eyes fixed on the table, her small fingers twisting the edge of her napkin nervously. Sarah could feel the tension in her daughter's shoulders and knew she needed to help her feel safe. "Emma," Sarah said gently, "would you like to look at the menu?" Emma hesitated, her lips pressed together. Sarah tried to keep her tone light and encouraging, hoping to make the experience enjoyable rather than stressful. She wanted Emma to feel that this outing wasn't a test, but a chance to simply have fun. Emma finally gave a tiny nod, and Sarah could see the relief on her face as she looked down at the colorful pages of the menu. The diner continued to buzz. With activity around them, a family laughed loudly at a nearby table, a couple chatted softly over coffee, and a man at the counter sipped his drink while reading a newspaper. For Sarah, these were simple, everyday moments, but for Emma, they were a lot to process. The noise, the movement, the laughter, it was all new and overwhelming. And Sarah worried that her daughter might retreat further into herself. She leaned closer, whispering comforting words to Emma, letting her know that she was safe and that nothing in the world could harm her here. Emma slowly began to relax, her gaze shifting from the menu to the people around her. She watched a small boy across the room laugh as he played with a toy, and her lips curved into a tiny smile. It was a small victory, but for Sarah, it felt monumental. She understood that for a child like Emma, even tiny moments of joy were huge accomplishments. She wanted to savor these victories no matter how small, because they reminded her that Emma could experience happiness. Even in challenging situations, Sarah's mind wandered as she watched her daughter, thinking about how life had taught her to treasure these moments. She had always known that Emma's path would be different, that it would require extra care, patience, and understanding. But she also knew that her daughter had an incredible spirit, a light that could shine brightly if nurtured with love. Today, Sarah wanted nothing more than to see that light sparkle, even just a little, and she was determined to make this outing memorable for her daughter as they waited for their food. Sarah noticed the way Emma's eyes followed the movements of the staff. She observed the way Emma's small fingers twitched with curiosity and how her lips pressed together as she tried to understand the world around her. Sarah realized that these moments, simple as they seemed, were part of a larger journey, a journey filled with small discoveries, small joys, and small victories that mattered more than anyone could imagine. Sarah reached out, taking Emma's hand once more. "I'm proud of you," she whispered, her voice full of warmth. Emma looked up at her mother, her eyes wide and bright. And for the first time that morning, she allowed herself to feel safe and excited. Sarah smiled, knowing that this outing, while simple on the surface, was more than just a trip to a diner. It was a step toward confidence, toward courage, and toward the ability to face the world in her own way. The morning stretched on, and as they waited for their food, Sarah couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation. She didn't know what the day would bring, but she knew that every experience mattered. Every smile, every gesture of kindness, and every small interaction could leave a lasting impact on Emma. And as Sarah watched her daughter slowly begin to open up, she felt a quiet hope rising in her heart, hope that today, something beautiful might happen, something that could change Emma's day, or perhaps even her life. Little did Sarah know that in just a few moments, a simple act from a stranger, a kind whisper, a gentle gesture would capture Emma's attention and spark a moment of connection that neither mother nor daughter would ever forget. But for now, they sat together in the cozy diner, a mother and her daughter, sharing a rare, peaceful moment. And Sarah felt grateful for the opportunity to be present with her child, fully, completely, and without distraction. As Sarah and Emma settled into the booth, the diner hummed with life around them. The sound of laughter, clattering dishes, and soft background music filled the air. To most people, it was just a normal, busy morning at a local diner. But for Emma, who struggled with her disability, every noise, every movement, and every unfamiliar face carried a weight of uncertainty. Her tiny hands gripped the edge of the table, and she shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Sarah noticed this immediately and instinctively moved closer, resting her hand over Emma's to reassure her. The waitress who had greeted them earlier returned to take their order. She was young, with a warm smile and gentle eyes that seemed to notice more than most people did. Her name tag read Lily. She knelt slightly to be at Emma's eye level, her presence calm and non-threatening. Instead of speaking in the usual rapid-fire diner tone, Lily leaned in and spoke softly. Her words were almost a whisper, gentle enough that only Emma could hear them. Sarah, still focused on keeping Emma comfortable, stepped away for a moment to take a quick phone call at the edge of the booth. She wanted privacy for a work matter, but she also wanted to make sure Emma was safe. That's when she noticed what Lily was doing. She saw the waitress leaning closer to Emma, whispering something into her ear. Sarah's heart skipped a beat. She couldn't hear what was being said, but the effect was immediate. Emma's stiff posture softened. Her tiny shoulders relaxed, and a small, shy smile appeared on her face. It was the first genuine smile Sarah had seen that morning. It struck her deeply. Sarah returned her attention to her daughter, carefully watching the interaction without interfering. Lily continued to whisper softly, using gestures and encouraging expressions. She pointed to the menu with gentle emphasis, offered a small nod of reassurance, and even made playful little faces to engage Emma. It was clear that Lily wasn't just performing a job, She was connecting with Emma on a human level, understanding her needs without any prior instructions or preparation. Emma's reaction was astonishing. For someone who often retreated from strangers and became overwhelmed in busy places, she now leaned slightly forward, her curiosity replacing her initial apprehension. Her eyes followed Lily's movements, sparkling with interest. Sarah's heart swelled with gratitude and surprise. She had never expected such a small, ordinary moment to have such a profound effect. Watching Emma respond to a stranger's kindness reminded Sarah of how powerful empathy could be. Lily didn't rush. She spoke in pauses, giving Emma the time she needed to process each word. She encouraged Emma gently to respond in her own way, whether it was a nod, a small word, or a smile. Emma's confidence grew with every interaction. She began to mimic some of Lily's playful gestures. It's a sign that she was beginning to trust someone outside her immediate family. Sarah could hardly believe her eyes. Her daughter, who often struggled to communicate, was showing signs of engagement and comfort. Sarah thought about how rare this was. Emma's disability made her sensitive to sudden changes in overwhelming environments. Normally, even a small interaction with a stranger could cause stress, tears, or withdrawal. But Lily's approach was different. She treated Emma like an individual with her own pace, her own feelings, and her own world. There was no judgment, no impatience, just a calm presence that seemed to reach directly into Emma's heart. Sarah felt a surge of emotions, relief, admiration, and even a little awe. She realized that sometimes people who make the biggest difference in a child's life are those who act with quiet, understanding rather than grand gestures. Lily's whisper, soft and almost invisible to the world around them, had broken through barriers that many could not. Sarah felt a mix of gratitude and wonder, silently thanking this stranger for seeing her daughter in a way that made her feel safe and understood. Emma's smile widened slightly, and she let out a soft giggle. It was a sound Sarah hadn't heard often, but one that filled the room with warmth. She leaned back in the booth, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. It was a moment of pure, unfiltered joy, not for herself, but for her daughter. Watching Emma experience this simple happiness reminded Sarah why she had brought her here today. It wasn't about the food, the diner, or even the change of scenery. It was about connection, about allowing Emma to feel seen, valued, and safe. As Lily continued to engage with Emma, Sarah noticed something else. The waitress was not only helping Emma feel comfortable, but she was also teaching her something important. Through small gestures, gentle words, and patience, Lily was modeling social interaction in a way that Emma could follow. She encouraged eye contact, mimicked conversational patterns, and used humor and playfulness to break the tension. For Emma, who often struggled with understanding social cues, this was invaluable. It was learning through kindness, teaching through empathy, and guiding through love. Sarah reflected on how rare it was to witness such a moment. She had seen teachers, therapists, and specialists work with Emma, but this felt different. This was a real-world interaction, spontaneous and unplanned, yet profoundly impactful. It wasn't guided by a curriculum or a script. It was guided by humanity. Sarah realized that true connection didn't always come from structured programs or elaborate interventions. It often came from someone noticing, caring, and taking the time to act with patience and warmth. Emma reached out tentatively, brushing her fingers against Lily's hand as if to acknowledge her presence. It was a small gesture, but for Sarah, it spoke volumes. Her daughter was choosing to engage, choosing to trust, choosing to open a tiny window to the world that she often found frightening. Sarah's chest tightened with emotion. In that moment, she understood something profound: kindness, when delivered sincerely and patiently, could bridge gaps that years of instruction sometimes could not. Lily's whispering and gentle gestures continued for several minutes. She encouraged Emma to point at the menu items she liked, asked soft questions that required minimal effort to answer, and praised Emma for every small response. Each time Emma reacted, Lily smiled warmly, reinforcing her actions. Sarah could see that Emma was beginning to feel a sense of agency, a sense of control over her environment, which was rare for her in new situations. The interaction also revealed something to Sarah about herself. She realized how protective she had been, how often she had tried to shield Emma from the world's overwhelming moments. But seeing Lily's approach, she recognized that sometimes the best way to help Emma wasn't by shielding her entirely, but by providing experiences with people who could meet her where she was. It was a lesson in trust, both in others and in Emma's ability to navigate the world with the right support. As the morning progressed, Emma's initial fear and shyness melted further. She laughed softly at something Lily whispered, her body relaxing completely for the first time since they had entered the diner. Sarah felt a deep sense of gratitude. She wanted to approach Lily and thank her immediately, but she also knew that interrupting the moment might break the delicate trust being built. Instead, she watched quietly. Marveling at the power of small acts of kindness, Sarah knew that this moment was more than a simple interaction. It was a turning point. It wasn't dramatic or grandiose. It wasn't a life-changing event on the surface, but it had planted a seed of confidence in Emma, shown her the joy of connection, and reminded Sarah that there were people in the world who could see her daughter for who she truly was. By the time their food arrived, Emma was calm, engaged, and even excited to choose what she wanted to eat. She giggled at a small joke Lily made, and Sarah's heart swelled with emotion. It was a simple breakfast outing at a local diner, but for Sarah and Emma, it had already become something far more meaningful. It was proof that empathy, patience, and gentle attention could transform fear into comfort, hesitation into trust, and a shy child into a smiling, engaged participant in her own little world. Sarah realized, as she watched her daughter laugh softly with Lily, that this moment, seemingly ordinary to anyone else, was extraordinary. It was a reminder that true kindness could arrive in whispers, in gestures, and in quiet attentiveness. It didn't require wealth, power, or grand actions. Sometimes all it took was one person noticing, one person caring, one person acting with genuine heart. And as Sarah reached over and squeezed Emma's hand, she felt a flicker of hope. Hope that today, perhaps, was the beginning of something more. Something that could change her daughter's world, her confidence, and maybe even the way she saw herself. All because a stranger, a young waitress named Lily, had taken the time to whisper, to smile, and to care. Sarah had never seen her daughter respond so quickly and positively to a stranger before. Emma, usually quiet and cautious, was now leaning forward slightly, eyes wide and sparkling, entirely focused on the young waitress. Lily's soft voice, gentle gestures, and patient manner seemed to unlock something in Emma Small. Bright light that had been hidden behind shyness and hesitation. Sarah's heart swelled with a mix of pride and relief as she watched. Realizing that this interaction was far more meaningful than she had imagined, curious to know more, Sarah carefully approached Lily, keeping a respectful distance so she wouldn't disrupt the delicate moment. She wanted to understand who this remarkable young woman was and how she had managed to reach her daughter in a way that seemed effortless, yet so profound. As she stepped closer, she noticed that Lily's attention never wavered from Emma. The way she leaned in, the softness in her eyes, and the warmth in her smile, it was clear that Lily genuinely cared. This wasn't just a part of her job, it was something deeper, a natural empathy that radiated in every word and gesture. Sarah started a quiet conversation with Lily, careful not to interrupt Emma. "You're really good with her," Sarah said softly. Lily looked up, slightly surprised, but smiling warmly. "She's wonderful," Lily replied. "Sometimes all it takes is a little patience and understanding. She's very observant, very bright. She just needs a calm space to feel comfortable." Sarah nodded, impressed by the insight in Lily's words. It wasn't just her kindness that was was her understanding of Emma's needs. As they spoke, Sarah watched her daughter closely. Emma had started to engage in small ways, pointing to items on the menu, responding with little nods, and even mimicking some of Lily's playful gestures. Each small interaction was a triumph, a demonstration of growth and confidence that Sarah rarely got to witness outside of therapy sessions. For a mother who had spent years worrying about her child's ability to connect with the world, this moment was nothing short of miraculous. Sarah began to realize something important. Why? She had always tried to provide the best care for chemotherapy. Sessions, special programs, and even one-on-one attention at home. But seeing Lily's approach in real life, in a natural, unscripted setting, was eye-opening. Lily wasn't relying on structured techniques or professional methods. She was relying on empathy, patience, and a genuine desire to connect. And that was exactly what Emma needed in that moment. Curiosity got the better of Sarah, and she quietly asked Lily how she had learned to work with children like Emma. Lily smiled, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "I have a younger brother with special needs," she explained softly. "I've spent my whole life learning to communicate in ways that help him feel safe and understood. I guess I just carry that experience with me everywhere I go." Sarah felt a lump form in her throat. The compassion in Lily's voice, shaped by her own life experiences, was evident in every action she took. She wasn't just helping Emma for the sake of a job. She was helping because she truly understood. Meanwhile, Emma's transformation continued right before Sarah's eyes. The little girl who had entered the diner tense and nervous was now showing signs of curiosity and engagement. She reached out to touch Lily's hand lightly, a small gesture of trust that Sarah could hardly believe. It was as if a bridge had been built in those few minutes, a bridge that connected Emma to the world outside her immediate circle, built entirely on kindness, patience, and understanding. Sarah began to reflect on what she was witnessing. She realized that this moment was not just about a simple act of kindness. It was about connection. It was about seeing her daughter not as someone limited by her disability, but as a child with potential, capable of interaction, capable of joy, capable of responding to love when it was offered in the right way. Lily's presence had created an environment where Emma could thrive, even for a short time, and that realization filled Sarah with both hope and gratitude. As the conversation continued, Sarah noticed another remarkable thing. Lily was not only engaging Emma, but also teaching her, in subtle ways, how to navigate social interactions. When Emma looked unsure, Lily mirrored her expression gently, giving her cues through facial expressions and body language. When Emma made a small sound or gesture, Lily responded with encouragement, reinforcing the behavior in a positive, natural way. This real-world learning, disguised as playful interaction, is helping Emma build skills that Sarah had struggled to teach at home. Sarah felt a deep respect for Lily. Mixed with a growing sense of awe, here was a young woman working a simple diner job, yet demonstrating a level of understanding and care that few professionals could match. Sarah realized that this encounter was an unplanned, spontaneous moment that had the potential to leave a lasting impact on her daughter. It was happening all because Lily had chosen, in that moment, to truly see Emma. Emma's trust grew with every passing minute. She began to make eye contact more confidently, responded to gentle questions with soft words, and even smiled spontaneously, her laughter ringing lightly through the booth. Sarah's eyes filled with tears not of sadness, but of overwhelming emotion and gratitude. She had never imagined that a simple morning outing could transform into such a meaningful experience. The more Sarah observed, the more she realized that Lily's kindness was teaching her something too. It reminded Sarah that sometimes the best help for a child is not always in structured lessons or carefully planned interventions. Sometimes it's in the presence of someone who genuinely cares, someone who notices, someone who takes the time to act with patience and empathy. Lily's actions were a living lesson in compassion, showing Sarah how transformative simple human connection could be. As the minutes passed, Sarah quietly continued her conversation with Lily, learning more about her approach. She discovered that Lily had experienced volunteering at special needs programs and had developed her own ways of making children feel comfortable and included. But it wasn't just the experience that mattered, it was the heart behind it. Sarah realized that Lily's care was genuine, coming from a place of understanding and empathy rather than obligation or routine. Meanwhile, Emma's world had opened up in small but significant ways. She was laughing softly now, responding with gestures and words, and even showing excitement about the menu items she liked. The shy, hesitant child who had entered the diner was slowly blossoming under Lily's gentle guidance. Sarah couldn't help but smile, feeling a deep sense of hope and relief. She knew that these moments, though small, were laying the foundation for greater confidence and trust in the world around her. Sarah also noticed the subtle ways Lily had adapted her behavior to suit Emma's needs. She lowered her voice, slowed her movements, and used exaggerated facial expressions to communicate clearly. She mirrored Emma's actions, creating a sense of connection and understanding. It was almost as if Lily could see through Emma's hesitations and reach directly to her heart. Sarah felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for this stranger, whose compassion was touching her daughter's life in ways she could not have imagined. By the time their breakfast arrived, Sarah realized that something extraordinary had happened. Emma, who had entered the diner anxious and withdrawn, was now engaged, confident, and smiling. Sarah could see the difference clearly, and it filled her with emotion. She had always known that empathy and kindness were powerful, but seeing it in action, affecting her daughter so deeply, was a revelation. As Emma reached for her food, Sarah leaned back in her seat, reflecting on what she had witnessed. She understood that this moment was more than a simple interaction. It was a lesson in the power of human connection, in the transformative nature of patience and understanding, and in the beauty of small gestures that carry immense meaning. Lily's whispers, her gentle encouragement, and her quiet presence had opened a door for Emma, allowing her to experience a level of comfort and trust that Sarah rarely saw outside their home. Sarah felt a sense of anticipation, a quiet hope, that this encounter might be the beginning of something greater. She didn't yet know what the future held, but she was certain that the connection between Lily and Emma had already made a lasting impact. It was a reminder that sometimes the people who change our lives are not those we expect, not those with wealth or power, but those who simply act with heart, who notice, who care, and who are willing to invest time and attention in others. And as Sarah watched her daughter laugh, respond, and engage with Lily, she felt a deep, unwavering gratitude. She knew that this small, ordinary moment, a few minutes of whispering, gestures, and gentle encouragement was extraordinary in its effect. It was a turning point, a moment that could influence Emma's confidence, her trust, and her ability to connect with others for years to come. And it had all begun with a simple act of kindness from a stranger who chose to see her daughter, understand her, and meet her where she was. As Sarah continued to watch Lily interact with Emma, she felt something stirring deep inside her. She had always known her daughter faced challenges in ways that most children did not. Emma's disability made even small, everyday situations stressful, and as a mother, Sarah had spent countless hours worrying, teaching, and guiding her daughter to cope. But what she was seeing now was different. It was more than just a moment of joy. It was a moment of transformation, a demonstration of what patience, understanding, genuine empathy could do. Sarah's thoughts swirled. She realized that while she had done everything she could to help Emma, there were limits to what she could accomplish alone. Emma needed people who could meet her where she was, who could nurture her confidence, and who could guide her in ways that were patient, thoughtful, and caring. And in Lily, she saw exactly that. Watching Lily whisper softly, smile gently, and respond to Emma's smallest gestures, Sarah recognized that this young waitress had a rare gift on, ability to connect with her daughter in a way that made Emma feel safe, understood, and valued. It was a revelation for Sarah. She had always relied on professionals, tutors, and therapists, and while these people had been helpful, what she was witnessing now was different. This was not a structured environment or a planned intervention. This was real, spontaneous, and profoundly effective. Lily's presence was natural, her empathy genuine, and her patience limitless. Sarah realized that this encounter could change Emma's life in ways that structured programs alone never could. A part of Sarah's mind immediately began thinking about possibilities. She wondered how she could bring Lily into Emma's life more permanently, how she could ensure that this connection was not just a fleeting moment, but a lasting influence. She imagined Emma growing, learning, and gaining confidence under Lily's gentle guidance. She pictured her daughter navigating the world with a newfound sense of courage, laughing freely, speaking openly, and experiencing joy without fear or hesitation. Sarah knew she couldn't let this opportunity pass. She had always believed in using her resources to create positive change, both for her family and for others. In that moment, she made a decision. She would offer Lily an opportunity, a chance to make a real difference, not just for Emma, but for her entire family. She didn't know all the details yet, but she knew that she wanted Lily to be part of their lives in a meaningful way, to help nurture Emma's growth, and to share her remarkable gift with someone who truly needed it. As she considered her options, Sarah took a quiet moment to reflect. She realized that opportunities like this rarely came along. Life sometimes presented people to us at exactly the right time, in exactly the right way, and it was up to us to recognize the moment and act. Lily had appeared in their lives at such a moment, her kindness and understanding creating an immediate impact. Sarah felt a sense of urgency, knowing that if she waited too long, this chance could slip away. She needed to act. She needed to act now. Sarah's mind began crafting the conversation she would have with Lily. She imagined approaching her calmly, explaining how much she had noticed and appreciated her patience, empathy, and natural ability to connect with children. She wanted to express her gratitude, of course, but she also wanted to make it clear that she saw Lily's potential in a much larger, more meaningful context. This was more than just a thank you. This was an offer, a life-changing opportunity that could shape both Lily's future and Emma's. As she observed, Lily continued to interact with Emma. Sarah noticed something subtle but profound. The way Lily had adjusted her tone, gestures, and expressions to match Emma's needs was nothing short of extraordinary. She had created an environment where Emma felt in control, empowered, and understood. Sarah realized that this skill was rare. It was not something that could be taught in a classroom or learned from a book. It came from experience, empathy, and a natural inclination to care. And it was exactly what Emma needed in her life. Sarah also reflected on the impact this could have on her daughter's confidence and independence. She had always wanted Emma to experience joy without fear, to engage with the world without hesitation, and to know that there were people who could see her for who she truly was. Lily's presence could provide that, offering consistent, compassionate support that went beyond what Sarah alone could provide. She imagined Emma learning new skills, gaining social confidence, and developing a sense of trust and security that would stay with her for life. The thought of bringing Lily into their lives permanently filled Sarah with excitement, but also with a sense of responsibility. She understood that such a decision was not just about offering a job or a role. It was about trust, its commitment, and partnership. She would need to ensure that Lily felt welcomed, valued, and supported in this new chapter of her life. Sarah knew that Lily's talent and heart were rare, and she wanted to make sure that the opportunity was meaningful for her as well, not just for Emma. With that in mind, Sarah began planning the next steps. She would first have a private conversation with Lily, expressing her admiration and gratitude for what she had done. She would explain how much of a difference Lily's actions had made, not only in Emma's day, but in her mother's understanding of what was possible. Sarah wanted Lily to know that she was seen, appreciated, and respected, and that her natural gift for empathy and connection was both rare and invaluable. Then, Sarah would make her offer. She would provide Lily with the chance to work closely with Emma, guiding her growth, building her confidence, and creating a lasting impact. It wouldn't just be a job, it would be a life-changing opportunity, one that could shape Lily's future as well as Emma's. Sarah imagined the possibilities, Emma thriving in ways that had previously seemed out of reach, Lily finding purpose and fulfillment in her work, and their lives intertwined in a way that brought joy, growth, and hope to all three of them. As Sarah continued to watch, she felt her heart swell with emotion. She realized that this was a rare and beautiful moment, a moment where opportunity, compassion, and timing had aligned perfectly. She understood that sometimes life presented people to us at exactly the right moment, and it was up to us to recognize the significance of those moments and act. And this was one of those moments. Emma, meanwhile, was completely engaged with Lily. She was laughing softly, responding with gestures, and even speaking a few words that she rarely used outside the home. Each interaction was a triumph, a step forward, and a sign that the connection Lily had built was genuine and meaningful. Sarah's chest tightened with emotion as she watched, knowing that these small victories were the beginning of something much larger. Finally, Sarah approached Lily. She knelt down slightly to be at eye level with her, her voice calm but filled with sincerity. She explained how much she had noticed, how deeply she appreciated the way Lily had connected with Emma, and how profoundly she had impacted her daughter's confidence and happiness. She expressed her admiration for Lily's patience, understanding, and natural empathy, emphasizing that what she had witnessed was extraordinary. Then, Sarah made her offer. She asked Lily if she would consider joining their household in a more permanent role, one where she could work closely with Emma, help her grow, and be a consistent, positive presence in her life. She explained that it was not just a job, but a unique opportunity to make a lasting difference, one that could impact both Emma and Lily in profound ways. She wanted Lily to know that she was valued, respected, and seen not just for her abilities, but for the kindness and heart she brought into the world. Lily was stunned. She had never expected anything like this, never imagined that her simple acts of kindness would lead to such an incredible opportunity. Her eyes welled with tears, and she struggled to find words. Sarah smiled softly, giving her the space to process, knowing that this was a moment of life-changing significance for both Lily and her daughter. In that moment, Sarah realized something powerful. Life's greatest gifts often came from unexpected sources, in unexpected ways. A simple act of kindness, a smile, a gesture of patience, could create ripples that changed lives in ways no one could foresee. And in that diner, on that ordinary morning, one such ripple had appeared in the form of Lily, touching Emma, touching Sarah, in creating a future filled with hope, connection, and possibility. Sarah felt a sense of calm certainty. She had made the right decision. She had recognized a rare gift, an act offering an opportunity that could change lives forever. And she knew, deep in her heart, this choice was not just about giving Emma the support she needed, it was about creating a bond, a partnership, and a shared journey that would bring joy, growth, and love to all of them for years to come. After Sarah made the life-changing offer to Lily, the diner seemed to hold its breath for a moment. Time felt slower, quieter, as if the world itself knew something important was happening. Lily's eyes glistened with surprise and emotion, and for a moment she struggled to speak. Sarah knelt slightly, patient and calm, giving Lily the space to process the extraordinary opportunity she had just been offered. It wasn't just a job, it was a chance to become a permanent part of their lives, to influence Emma's growth, and to be valued for her natural empathy and kindness. Lily finally found her voice, soft but steady. She thanked Sarah, her words carrying both gratitude and awe. She had never imagined that her simple act of whispering encouragement to a shy, disabled child could lead to something so remarkable. The realization that she was being trusted with such an important role brought a mix of excitement, nervousness, and pride. Sarah smiled reassuringly. Letting Lily know that there was no rush to decide what mattered was the sincerity behind her willingness to help, not the speed of her response. Meanwhile, Emma, who had been watching the exchange, began to understand something subtle yet profound. She could sense that this moment was special, that something big was happening. Even though she was young, she understood the emotions in the room. She looked up at Lily with bright eyes, a shy but genuine smile spreading across her face. Lily reached out and held Emma's small hand gently, and for the first time in a long time, Emma felt completely safe with someone outside her family. That simple touch, combined with the trust in Sarah's eyes, made Emma's heart feel light and happy. The next few days were filled with preparation and quiet excitement. Sarah helped Lily transition from her work at the diner to a more permanent role in their household. They discussed routines, activities, and ways to engage Emma in playful, educational, and emotionally supportive experiences. Sarah emphasized that Lily's role wasn't about control or strict schedules, but about creating an environment where Emma could thrive at her own pace, gaining confidence and joy in the process. Lily absorbed every detail with care, her mind already forming creative ideas for how to connect with Emma in meaningful ways. As Lily began working more closely with Emma, transformation was remarkable. The shy, cautious child who had once struggled to interact with strangers now showed curiosity, engagement, and joy in ways Sarah had never seen before. Lily introduced games, small challenges, and playful learning activities that allowed Emma to explore her environment safely. She celebrated every small achievement, whether it was a word spoken, a gesture made, or a smile shared. Each recognition helped Emma understand that her efforts were valued and that she was capable of more than she had previously believed. Sarah watched these changes with a mixture of pride, relief, and awe. She realized that Lily's patience, empathy, creativity were not only benefiting Emma, they were transforming the entire family dynamic. Sarah herself felt a sense of lightness and hope that she hadn't experienced in years. The constant worry, the tension of seeing her daughter struggle in public, and the fear of missed opportunities were beginning to fade. With Lily by their side, Sarah saw a future where Emma could grow into her full potential, supported by someone who genuinely understood her needs. Over time, Emma's confidence blossomed in ways that touched everyone around her. She began to speak more clearly, engage with new people, and express her emotions openly. Social situations that once seemed overwhelming became opportunities for joy and learning. Emma's laughter, once rare and cautious, now rang freely through their home, filling it with warmth and happiness. Sarah often found herself marveling at the bond between Lily and Emma, realizing that this connection had changed not only her daughter's life, but also her own perspective on what was possible when kindness and patience met genuine understanding. Lily's role became even more meaningful as she discovered new ways to nurture Emma's growth. She introduced creative activities that combined learning with fun, helping Emma develop not just social skills, but also cognitive abilities, problem-solving, and emotional intelligence. Lily encouraged Emma to express herself through art, music, and play, allowing her imagination to flourish. Every day brought small victories, and with each victory, Emma's confidence grew stronger. Sarah often watched in awe, realizing that this progress was possible because Lily had taken the time to connect, to whisper encouragement, and to truly see Emma as she was. The relationship between Lily and Emma deepened. Beyond guidance and learning, it became a genuine bond of friendship, trust, and affection. Emma began to seek Lily's presence, sharing her thoughts, fears, and joys openly. Lily responded with patience, understanding, and encouragement, always celebrating Emma's individuality. This bond created a safe space where Emma could be herself completely, without fear of judgment or misunderstanding. Sarah observed the pair and felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude and relief. She realized that this connection was more than support, it was a lifeline. It's a source of love and security that would help Emma navigate challenges for years to come. Sarah herself also grew through this experience. Watching Lily's unwavering patience and Emma's blossoming confidence reminded her of the power of human connection, empathy, and trust. Sarah learned to step back when necessary, to allow someone else to guide her daughter in ways that were effective and nurturing. She discovered that collaboration, openness, and recognizing the gifts in others could create opportunities for growth that she had never imagined. Sarah's relationship with her daughter deepened as well, now strengthened by the presence of someone who could amplify Emma's confidence and joy as weeks turned into months. The changes in Emma became increasingly visible in every part of her life. School interactions became easier, family gatherings were less stressful, and even outings that had once seemed impossible were now approached with curiosity and excitement. Lily's influence had given Emma tools to face the world with confidence, to communicate her needs clearly, and to embrace experiences that she had previously feared. Every small achievement reinforced the idea that kindness, patience, and understanding could create profound and lasting change. One afternoon, Sarah watched Emma and Lily playing a simple game in the backyard. Emma laughed, her whole face lighting up, while Lily encouraged her, celebrating each success with genuine warmth. Sarah felt tears welling in her eyes, not of sadness, but of joy and gratitude. She realized that the decision to trust Lily, to offer her the opportunity to be part of their lives, had created something extraordinary. It wasn't just about the present, it was about building a foundation for Emma's future. One filled with confidence, joy, and hope. Sarah also reflected on how a single moment had led to all of this. It had started with Lily whispering encouragement to Emma at the diner, a small, seemingly ordinary gesture that had sparked a connection, built trust, and eventually led to a life-changing opportunity. Sarah understood now that extraordinary change often begins with simple acts of kindness, repeated with patience and sincerity. What seemed like a fleeting moment had created ripples that transformed not just Emma's life, but Lily's, Sarah's, and their entire family dynamic, the bond between the three of them. Lily and Sarah continued to grow. They shared laughter, learning, and love in ways that were deep and meaningful. Lily became more than a helper. She became a trusted companion, a mentor, and a friend. Emma's confidence, joy, and sense of self-worth flourished under Lily's guidance, creating a ripple effect that influenced every aspect of their lives. Sarah felt a profound sense of fulfillment, knowing that her daughter was thriving in an environment filled with patience, understanding, and genuine care. In the quiet moments, Sarah would often watch Emma and Lily together and reflect on the journey that had brought them there. A mother's love had led her to seek experiences that would enrich her daughter's life. A stranger's kindness had sparked a connection, and together, their lives had been forever changed. It was a reminder of the power of human connection, the importance of empathy, and the incredible potential that lies in small, thoughtful actions. By the end of this journey, Emma was no longer the shy, a hesitant child who had entered the diner months before. She was confident, expressive, and full of joy. She laughed freely, explored her world with curiosity, and embraced social interactions with a newfound sense of ease. Lily had become a guiding light in her life, a presence that encouraged growth, celebrated individuality, and provided unwavering support. Sarah felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude, not only for Lily but for the journey that had brought them together and the transformation that had unfolded in the end. It wasn't wealth, power, or status that changed lives. It was kindness, empathy, and the willingness to see and support someone else. A simple whisper in a diner had led to a life-changing opportunity, a deep bond, and a future filled with hope and joy. Sarah, Lily, and Emma had discovered the incredible impact of connection, patience, and love, and they would carry the lessons and the bonds from that day with them forever.